The weekend. Yeah. For the whole weekend, it's like a whole week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Look at them just flocking in here. Look at this. It's a party.
Hey, I was wondering where you were.
Look at you all.
Oh, almost in time. Oh, yeah. Alright.
11:29 and a half.
Let's get a show on the road, Lori.
Let's show it. Let's rock it.
Ready to go. Might have to go back.
My God, they're just coming in from everywhere. They're just coming in from everywhere. Now everybody sees what my compliance looks like. You see what I see. Here's a number I love to see. It's a big number, considering I cleared it out yesterday.
Wow.
Or at least the listing part.
Hey, good seeing you.
So that's good.
Doing lunch?
Big number.
I just did lunch.
Would that 40 of those would be listings, but they're not. But we'll soon see how many are. So the only way I know to teach you the compliance piece of the listings is to actually show you what I see, and so that you can see what you should be doing. Okay, and the order in which you should be doing it, and who shows what, when, where. Make sense? So that we can all get on the same page and know what we're doing. So I have the listing piece to talk to you about today. So when I check this, I'm going to check and scroll till I see a listing that's been submitted for review. So whoever's spinning the wheel, whoever's going to be the first one, you're the guinea pig here. And that one's already been approved. Higher. So that's approved. Higher. Listing, Lisa, that's an approved one. Fire. Hope we find one. Listing, that one's approved. Listing. So here we are.
Lorri, for everything that you're covering today, is it all through command? And if we have a coordinator that does this for us, how much of this do we need to know?
You need to know about when an office exclusive has to be done. Coming soon, who shows what, when and how. So I'm going to talk about the forms, not necessarily command.
Okay.
Okay, but this is the only way I can. So I'm just going to show you when I go here. All of you have the ability to click here and see the blank document. Did you know that? Yes. You knew that. That was a shortcut. If you needed to manually print something, you could do that, take it out for a manual signature. Everybody know that? Okay. So this is the first document I want to talk about, but it's not the first document that we discuss when we go on a listing. Before we do anything else, the consumer guide is first. We talk to no one about anything, nowhere, no how, nada, till we get the consumer guide done in total, explaining what happens when, particularly those of you on teams. Okay, that's number one. That's a piece that I think we're cutting corners on, to be quite frank. I see dates on those I shouldn't see. That is the first one, and it really should be manually signed, in person, discussed. Unless there's some circumstance where that can happen. That should not come in an admin packet of documents. It should not. Agency is a sacred thing. It is in your license law. You are breaking the law if you don't discuss it first thing, right? We know that. But it's messed up. I'm telling you, the statistics are over 70% of people never saw a consumer guide. Not in this market center, not on my watch. That's not gonna happen. And we need to go over all the scenarios that could come before our seller, particularly in a tight market. And we have to discuss with them all of their options, whether they go to the open market, whether they want it sold to us within the market center, whatever, all scenarios, all types of representation. It could be that a member of my team will bring the buyer, in which case that team member and I are dual agents. Do you consent to that? Do you consent? Are we asking that? Okay, when there's an offer in their face, what are they gonna say? What's the price? Yeah, yeah. It's late. The horse is out of the barn. First document, so that should be in compliance. First document. I like to see those manually signed, then I know. And an unlicensed admin. Okay, you and them, agency, all of it, the whole consumer guide piece. So now, the first listing document is the listing agreement. This is the employment agreement, them and us. The date of the listing is the date they sign it. Okay, not the date it goes in MLS. It's listed with this company as an exclusive when they sign this document. Everybody get it? Okay, so commencing on, if we're doing it today, it's today's date. Expiring 6 months from now. And maybe that'll come back again, but now it's 6 hours or whatever it is. And a lot of you are getting this paperwork signed and you haven't got price established because the market is very fluid. And we may be going on the open market a month from now, which there are different comps. I get that. All I'm telling you is you need to go back and revisit it and get their initials when we do put a price in. Okay. TBD is a temporary deal. Okay, for price. All right, so you go back in. The next dates we discuss with the seller is when are they going to be ready to show? That's how we explain it, to show. Or when would they be ready to expose it to the market and not show? That's coming soon. Okay, or third option, maybe they would entertain a pre-market sale if they got their terms. Okay, so we have dates to go over with them and explaining the whole process. Keep in mind that you're going to be explaining a whole lot of stuff, like they see what's going on. But are we going into like 120 people could be in your house this weekend? And here's what might happen. And we have to talk about the people who can cover any appraisal shortage, because we know we may not get the number we go out at. We've got to have some frank discussions with these people at the time of listing. When they're going through it, it's highly emotionally charged, yes? Yeah. So, you know, our listing presentation has got to be the state of the market and what we're seeing, what we're experiencing. Not to say that every situation will be cookie cutter, but in these price ranges, we see this. It's gonna be their option, how they want to explore. So we're gonna talk to them about what is active and what is coming soon. If they sign this today and they're not ready to go into either of those categories for more than 48 hours out, they must sign the next document. Okay. Okay, they must sign this one, which should say brokerage exclusive waiver. Because the real form that's, I think, loaded in is the brokerage one now. Is that the one you're seeing in Dotloop? And it doesn't say office anymore. So this is, when Joanne and I had to load these into Command, lo and behold, 3.5 years ago, or whenever that was, this was hours of work, setting up these documents as to what was optional, what was required, whatever. So this is a required document, and this is not happening. And this has got to happen. If we have a signed listing agreement in this market center, and we're not going into coming soon or active within 2 days, this one, but it doesn't do any good if you wait 2 days and then you send it when it's active. It's MLS is probably looking at that and going, okay, what's going on in this brokerage? Okay. This is happening. You're thinking you're not going to get paid, so you're sending it to me after it's in contract to sign? No. No. So sellers got to sign it quickly, like when they sign the listing. And then it's got to come to me same day. And then it's got to be emailed to MLS. Right away. Right away. Everybody clear on what's happening there. So if we're having admins who don't work but Monday through Friday, this is an issue. Who does this fall back on now? Okay. They're going to start, I mean, you know, these timelines are critical. Because I'm seeing stuff was signed by the seller a week ago and now you're sending it to me? In that week, we weren't covered. This is an important document. Okay. So when we're in this period of time, brokerage exclusive, the word should be self-explanatory. That means with seller approval, it can be shown by you as the listing agent or anyone in this market center. Okay, so that's what it means. That's what you have to explain to a seller, if they allow that. Questions?
What if they change their mind?
Can they change their mind? And they say, no, they don't want it. It still has to be protected in MLS as a broker exclusive. It doesn't have to be shown by the market center. But you will have explained to them, if I have a buyer, may I show it during this time? My market center has buyers. We got to give them all their options. Okay, that's what a brokerage exclusive covers. You don't think for 1 minute that this isn't going out to all 600 agents at Coldwell Banker, their new listings, do you?
I'm on that email list. I don't know how I got there.
So good for you. So you know it's happening.
No. Teasing.
Is it hard for small brokers? Yes, it is. But this allows for the marketing within the company, okay? So the listing date is the date the seller signs. So John,
Once that's signed, what is our limitation on marketing of the property public? Like, can I text?
no public.
But like, can I?
You can text your database.
Okay. Can I text my database on office exclusives that aren't my listing. Like, let's say Lisa has a good one, and I wanna put it out there. but
I would tell them you're doing that, but yeah. But it is a market center listing. It isn't yours. Okay. So it is. Good question. Everybody knows the difference between public and,
You need this filled out before you can upload anything to the air tables that are going to that. next
you have to have the listing agreement signed and this document before anything goes on the Airtable. Okay. Then Airtable asks you, can it be shown or not? Some people aren't ready for showings. Okay. If we check the box, coming soon, we don't know when we're going to go into coming soon though yet, right? So those dates go to TBD. Office exclusive goes to MLS, TBD, and then we determine if and when we're going to go public, which is coming soon. When it is in coming soon, there are no showings, not even you. Not even the seller. We're not explaining this to them. They're letting people in. The time for them to do that was when it was just with us. But coming soon is a public facing, it is an MLS entry. It is in MLS.
So what happens if we market to our database and our database decides to market to somebody else who is in an exclusive buyer agreement with another agent? Then how do we?
We have to tell that other agent it's exclusive with us now. So sorry. Or we're really breaking rules.
They can write a curve.
They can write a curve. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. And they do. Because is anything really secret? Kids, really? Is anything secret? When people are getting their house ready, stuff's happening there, right? And they're chatty. So we have to do some education here. But it's critical, this particular form, it does, your file is not compliant if this wasn't signed and sent to MLS. Your file's not compliant. I don't want to withhold commission. Worse, you're sending it to me with the closing documents. Seriously. That's not good. Okay, because if the file's ever audited, I got issues. I, as your broker, I'm on the line there for the accuracy of our file. So Rach.
I have a question. So since we have some floating dates like TBDs for coming soon or after the date, how should we handle the expiration of the agreement? Sometimes we'll sign on this agreement 9 to 12 months in advance.
So it is, the division allows the following words. 4 months after listing is active in the MLS. 6 months after the listing is active in the MLS. They allow that language for your expiration date,
The second one.
Hmm?
The second commencement date.
the ending date,
Expiration.
the expiration of our agreement with the seller. Okay. Yeah,
Kind of like makes it perpetual.
it sort of does if we never go active.
I
But
just wanted to make sure.
if we never went active, hopefully we sold it.
Right.
And then it's over. Okay,
Never expired.
yeah, question? It's a forever listing,
Yeah, little eternity.
infinity sign.
Infinity sign.
Yeah.
It's out there.
So are you
Believe
saying
me,
that
this
we
has
can set
happened.
the timeline?
Pardon?
Are you saying that we can set a 4-month timeline or a 6-month timeline after MLS entry?
As an expiration date, because we really don't know. Do we? But the division allows that. Of course, if it never goes active. So that brings me to the next piece of this puzzle. When we sell it pre-market, how are we entering it? How and when? Talk to me.
Sure about like market listings.
Yeah.
I am
Pre-market.
asking, when do we enter it in the MLS?
Mhm. To get credit for it.
We're doing it after it closes if our seller is not ready to be on the market.
So when you do that, and it asks you for listing date, what date do you put in there?
It has to be, like it tells you, it has to be the close date, right?
I know, is that accurate?
No.
Really not. The listing date was the day they signed the exclusive with us.
Yeah, but when you put the list date in, it's the day you're putting it in the MLS. Right, like, so they might
MLS
sign,
entry date,
they might
yeah.
sign the listing agreement and your commencement date is today, but we're not gonna list in the MLS.
but really, we're not
until-
listing it today and we're
Yeah.
reporting it as sold, but that's what we're doing. So our MLS data is in no way accurate. That's our own doing, all of us. It's not accurate. We have some people screwing around with price. They're getting fined for it now. You can't change the price to what it's in contract to. We need accurate data. We need to figure out if it's sold for 110% of the asking price. And incidentally, in the last week, 2 appraisals have come in below the original list price. Just an FYI. And 1 massively below.
When is the right time to put that curve off or deal?
When it's contingent is probably appropriate.
And then if they're not ready, just temporarily take it off, like if it were to fall out.
Yeah. I mean, that's accurate. I mean, you're reporting it sold, but there's no timeline there. There's no days on market. Nothing about that has got accurate data. It counts as a sold for us and yay-hoo, but you know, if we're looking for data, I just need to know when you're doing it. But are we doing it 100% of the time? Or
It's
do
the
we
same with
forget?
FSBOs, right? I mean, you can't do that.
But this wasn't a FISBO,
I know, but I'm saying the data is gonna be wrong for FSBO.
Yeah.
It's the same.
but it wasn't a listing, so it doesn't come into listing data. See what I'm saying? Reporting a FISBO or a new build, those weren't listed properties. But we're saying we had a listing. In my 45 years in the business brain, that's not computing. I have a little problem with that. But basically, what that tells everybody else is you sold it pre-market, right? Now, that's what it says. So questions about this document? We can't delay on this. It has to be done immediately, immediately. I can't be seeing this next week when you signed a listing today.
So we have a lot of TBDs on this too. We need to go back on this one. like we
You're
did
talking about this?
The date, the date going active and the price.
They're not reading it, Susan. I wish they were. They're just sending you, they got it received. All they need to have on here is if another agent calls them and asks them if you have a company exclusive or not, and they go through the file and say, yes, they do, and that agent knows to back off. That's what it's for. See, because you got a listing sign, and in your example, Lisa, the neighbor, they're all talking. and they tell their friend who's a realtor that this is on the market with Capital Partners. They're calling MLS and checking. That's what it's for. Everybody with me now? Okay. That's what it's for. So you're not going to be protected unless you get it in there. Okay, because when that agent calls MLS and they say, no, they don't have anything on file, it's called skunk with a capital S. Now I'm going to get that call. Okay. This is such an important piece of paper. Part of today was for everybody. I wish this room was packed because the questions I get mean people are not understanding this process. Truly, truly understanding the listing process from start to finish. So consumer guide, listing agreement, exclusive waiver. What's next? Well, I'll show you. So I'm looking to see what happens here. So this one on a team, that's got to be signed with the consumer guide. Should be stapled, teams, husband and wife, 2 partners, you're all teams. Team disclosure is part of the consumer guide. That's an Ohio form. Okay, that's got to go then too. Okay, anti-fraud is our internal document that we've discussed it. We're really cognizant of the fact that this can happen. We want to discuss that, but that and team disclosure go together. RPD. If RPD is not applicable, then the exemption. Once again, a power of attorney is not exempt. Not. Okay. Powers of attorney, those are instruments prepared by attorneys. And because someone has the power to sign for someone else, doesn't relieve the burden of answering the questions as best they are able if the person they have power of attorney for is not competent. Okay. They do the best they can. They can simply answer unknown, but they must fill out the form, the state says. A guardian for someone is exempt. Do we know the difference? Everybody knows the difference? Okay. A guardian is a court appointment. Medical and social workers, people have to testify as to the competency of the individual and the guardian being appointed. Okay. They're exempt from the form because the guardian really becomes that person. A power of attorney does not. Okay. Who else is exempt?
Trustee?
A trustee. Even if it's your own trust, you're exempt. In a living trust, you're exempt. Doctors and lawyers, they do it all the time. However, most of them have figured out that it's probably a good idea to maybe fill out the form. They've lived there, they're the owners, but they don't have to. However, being exempt from filling out the form doesn't mean you're exempt from disclosure. If you know something's bad, you got to tell. So I get the questions all the time. So what are attachments that we might put in here a statement from heirs that they know grandma's sink is leaking. They know that. Or her dishwasher doesn't work. They're disclosing those things. What you know, you have to disclose, exempt or not. Builders are exempt. Banks, foreclosed property exempt. Try getting them to fill out anything like that. They won't even fill out your agency disclosure form. I know that. It's hard enough to get the builders to sign it. They tell me they deal with it in the contract, that they understand that such and such agent represents the buyer. It's in the boilerplate of their language. But it would be nice if you loaded that in command. The full builder contract. I want the full thing. Okay, put it in there on the buy side. All right, and then lead paint. Make sure you're using the current 2012, which requires initials. And on lead paint, on the buy side, there is a question where the buyer has to answer. I want the opportunity, 10-day opportunity to determine if there's lead paint, or I'm waiving that. They're coming to me blank, blank, and blank, 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 blank. They got to answer the question.
So I have a question. So let's say we're working with a buyer and they do want to have that lead assessment and we're in a multiple bidding situation and we're trying to shorten our deadline
Mhm.
for inspection. Should it be the 10 days? Because isn't that considered inspection time frame?
That's on the lead paint form.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they want to conduct that, you're going to have to include that in their inspection period.
I think, doesn't the form actually say 10 days or another agreed upon
A
time
time.
period? So that could be the actual time period for whatever inspection. you're doing.
Yeah, it does.
So they would have to get it done. short.
Yeah. Mhm. That's a heavy duty inspection. Okay, but they got to answer the question, guys. We're kind of flipping through documents, I think, a little too fast. A little too fast. Things that I'm seeing. Okay, what else I got here? If it's a referral, I need that loaded in and the current W-9 for whoever we're paying the referral fee to. In listings, the COVID should be gone. I don't need those anymore. Okay. I'm still seeing a lot of you in A2A remarks put COVID stuff in there. Is that what your seller wants, or you just got boilerplate language and you're copying and pasting? I hope to God not. Are we still in COVID protocol?
Not really.
Not really. Okay, so some of you have standard stuff you put in your A2A. Just remember that the seller has to approve that stuff. And when I'm looking for this, why would I get, not to pick on anybody here, but the Franklin County Auditor page, if it's not going to the market, all you needed to do was tell me that when it was submitted, add a comment, and I know not to look for the active MLS. Otherwise, I'm returning it to you, aren't I? Because you don't tell me. Okay, so that has to happen. Just trying to clean up stuff here, hanging out there. I can't read your mind. I don't know what happened. There's a lot of you. Just only me checking the listings. So,
So if it's not going to the market, we don't have to do anything on that. active,
no,
Not even the MLS. Form or whatever it's called,
exclusive is already there.
with the MLS entry form,
The input form.
the one that I submitted this morning.
Well,
Yeah, that's.
so does everybody know what the input form looks like? Okay. It's a great form. When you load a listing in, it gives you the option to print that out. It has lines for the seller to sign, and it actually prints out what is in the MLS. Whereas the old worksheet, you would leave that blank and fill that in later, and the seller never saw that. That was bad. I was guilty. It was a shortcut. I'd figure out my remarks later, right? Seller never saw that. Not good. Because what if something was wrong? But when I'm looking at it, I'm reading your A2A, and it's not accurate to send me any other printout other than the A2A. The input form has the A2A, and I can see those. I need to see what you're saying to other agents. Because a few of you need work there. Okay.
So what happens, like I had an example this morning where we started with a certain A2A, we had to make some adjustments 2-3 days into the listing date.
So we have a new A2A now.
So do we resend that?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Just confirming, this is what we talked about.
An email sufficient, right?
An
You don't
email
have
would
to
be
do that.
good. Yeah. Some of you use an instruction sheet. That's got to be signed by seller. Signed by seller. Now be careful what you're putting on there. We're excellent, but we're not going to be everybody's boss. Be careful how we word stuff. We do need friends. We don't want to make enemies by what we say and how we say it. There are professional ways to sign stuff, but I get really troubled when I see no escalation, when I see no curb offers. I get really troubled when I see that. Who's really saying that? Is the seller really instructing that? Really? Or did you encourage them that you didn't want it? Let's tell the truth. Let's soul search. Say, I don't want to deal with that, so I'm telling them. I'm telling you, you leave money on the table for your seller. That's a bad thing, and you violated your fiduciary responsibilities. You have. You know, now you're starting to act like a lawyer. Mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm-mm-mm.
I have a question, Lori. Should we put in our agent-to-agent remarks that the buyer reserves the right to accept an offer?
The seller.
Or the seller reserves the right to accept an offer before, like, say you put highest and best by Sunday. Yeah. I'm sure
So,
almost everybody's seen things go into contract before you can get.
Right. so why did we create these artificial deadlines? Is my question to you. Why did we?
I don't know.
Well, first of all, I want to ask you this. What if you didn't get any offers? Pick it out
Yeah, right.
quickly, but you know, there's such a thing called a history. And on Monday, your thing is still in the market. I'm a very savvy buyer's agent. What am I going to do?
Coming on.
Mm-hmm. Are we looking at those guys regularly? What's coming back on the market? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would rather you, because anyway, in Ohio law, the seller reserves the right to take anything, anytime. I mean, that's our law. So anybody operating under any other assumption doesn't know Ohio law. Number one. Okay, so it doesn't really have to be there because it is the law. But you're making enemies. I know that. People are mad at you. You said leave it open till Monday, and Saturday night it went in contract. People not happy, right?
We just had it happen this weekend, like the seller then wanted to change the deadline that she agreed to. And I mean, the seller's in the driver's seat, so we did let all agents
Okay.
know that there was an adjustment to the time, but it's sometimes
Yeah.
that's hard.
So it's better. This is me talking to you and telling you what I would prefer to see. Okay, would be better if you said, in the event of multiple offers, the seller may call for highest and best. You will be notified by email through showing time. Then there is no need to say seller reserves the right. Okay. In the event of multiple offers, the seller may call for highest and best. You will be notified by email. Whether you do that or showing time does it, that's your discretion. That would be better, and we could maintain professionalism. Right? Okay. So what does that say to me if I'm a buyer's agent? It says, get my best offer and get it in there quick. No messing around till Monday at noon. Isn't that better? Okay. Yes, listing agents, you're gonna have to deal with stuff as it comes, but hey, what is best for the seller? Is that best? I think so. You know, who are we promoting, who we're protecting? We're giving everybody the opportunity. And if they couldn't get in to see it, they can make a curb offer. Buyer's agents, you heard that, right? But if you're a buyer's agent, you got to counsel your people. They got to make their best offer the first time, the only time, so help you God. That's what they got to do. Right? Any other advice is like what? Some TV show, or what is that if we're not saying those very words? So there are some of our people who are, see, this is, I'm trying to get out of, you say to me, well, I have 20 buyers. No, you have 20 prospects. They're not a buyer till they're in contract. You understand what I said? Okay. You have prospects who may never be able to buy in this market. They haven't got buyers. Okay. Because they're not showing up here in command as a buyer till when? They're just opportunities. In our world, those are prospects. Right? We got to separate out now who can buy in this frenzy, who needs to wait as a prospect. So buyers are only the ones in contract. What else do I want to talk about here? All right, so we understand in exclusive, we can show it within the market center. Rachel, you want to talk about your open house on Saturday? Plug, throw it out there.
All right, so we're going for sure. So we are doing an office exclusive open house, no signage, no anything.
Nope, but can't have any sign.
The address is 8447 Davington Court, Davington Drive.
Muirfield.
Drive. It's in Muirfield. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, just shy of 3,000 square feet. Finished lower level. 2 stories, got the lofted, floor plan with the lofted kind of living room.
Built by probably one of the Italian stallions.
11 a.m. to 2
You have to
p.m.
be old. I know.
I know. if you have a buyer, you're welcome to bring them through. And email us or give us a call so that we can get you approved and make sure that we're only allowing access to KW Capital Partners agents.
What time and what price?
11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The asking price is $5.15. Now, I also want to say, this is to promote collaboration within the market center and the agents in this market center, because there's a lot of opportunity under this roof, and we are not getting our unfair share. So we wanted to lead the charge and provide this opportunity so that you guys are encouraged to do the same.
That's great.
Can I ask what you, your presentation to your sellers and let them agree to this, or get them to agree?
So it's interesting, Lee and I talked about this. Our sellers are actually asking us for this opportunity in our conversations and our listings.
Because maybe they don't want to update, they don't want to stage, they don't want to do any of that.
Positives that they're trying to decide on, do I update, do I not update, and time is of the essence in a market like this. And the stress of being out of the house for 3 days or 4 days and all these people coming in and disrupting their life is not always, you know, their top priorities. So in this case, the sellers would love to entertain.
Love it.
Great idea.
So that's what happens during exclusive time. Everybody's got that now.
It's also on Airtable, sorry.
And, right. But everybody who's not going and coming soon or active within 2 days, you must do this form, whether you're going to show it in the market center or not. You must do this form to protect yourself against somebody knocking on your seller's door. Okay, got to do it. So what happens now? We're in coming soon. Well, what happens now is every curb offer in the world comes out, right? And now the seller wants to accept one. Now we're not going active. What do?
Call you.
Right. Exactly what happened,
Sorry.
which is why we're together this morning. This afternoon. Okay, so I'm going to go over this. It's being recorded. What happens? Current MLS rules say that if the seller accepts said curb offer, they are now in contract. And what says in that contract is going to happen next overrides MLS rules and regulations. We're telling you that best practice, if it is contingent on the buyer viewing it, that must happen before the MLS rule of changing status happens, which is only 24 hours, not Friday to Monday, 24 hours. Okay,
So
another thing, agents, if you're on the weekend, you're responsible for this. Or you're gonna get the $1,000 fine. Okay.
So say we're coming soon. Coldwell Banker sends us a great offer, curb offer.
Mhm.
They haven't seen it. They put in the clause 48 hours or 24.
You gotta counter that out.
Okay,
Gotta counter it out. I'd probably give yourself like an hour to change the status or something. I mean, they gotta, because it's a 24-hour rule,
so
but they don't know when it went in contract. So you really got one full day.
so the curb offer comes in, we have to show it 24 hours.
And then we gotta immediately change it to active and then contingent.
Okay,
We have to.
If they want to proceed.
if they want, if the
Yeah,
buyers want to.
But if they didn't, you can leave it in coming soon.
Right,
What if
Okay.
there's tenants?
right, that was my next question.
What if there's,
Tenants in the home.
you have to give 24-hour notice to, then I think you can't get curb offers. I mean, you can't, because that's an MLS reg. That,
That's what a lot of these duplexes
But-
are doing. with
but the
these
question
tenants.
becomes, if pressed, would the 48 hours hold against the MLS rule? And that's what they're wrestling with now.
But what-
Because our seller accepted 48 hours because they have to give 24 hours notice to the tenant.
But a lot of these tenant occupied properties are curb offer only.
Right, for that very reason.
I mean, the other thing that can happen is the moment you get an offer, if you're a landlord, put in that 24-hour notice. Don't accept the curb offer immediately. Wait a little bit to give yourself slack.
Yeah, because you can give the tenant notice anytime.
Yeah.
That's up to you as a landlord. Yeah. Yeah, good question, Tiffany. Thank you for that. Are we running into that a lot, tenants? Are we? Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, the contract has to survive still under current laws in our state, but. Yeah, so Barbie, you're looking at me crazy.
You can see that part lot.
Yeah,
I missed the part about if there's a tenant in there and it may be a little difficult to get them in.
well, if you have to give the tenant 24 hours notice, you're not gonna get them in there in 24. So
That's why give the notice as soon as you get an offer.
get the offer.
Don't accept it for 6-7 hours.
Okay,
So that time it started, the
I
clock has
understand.
started.
okay.
But I don't know what they're gonna do with that. If they're gonna toss that out the window, I don't know. I don't know how any lawyer would let them do that, but strange things happen. Why we have this whole thing to start with is crazy. Your guess is as good as mine. So everybody knows what's happening in coming soon. In coming soon, there is a sign in the yard. All public advertising commences. No showings. So the question becomes, what is the scenario for your seller? Is it exclusive? Coming soon and active? Or is it exclusive? Sold pre-market? Or is it exclusive, going straight to active? And you gotta tell them each scenario and what that means and who's in there and who can do what. We good? There'll be a test. See,
Every day's a test.
every day's a test. You're right about that, Bill. So when we're active, the next thing that's troubling me is you telling me that times are blocked out. That's troubling. What's happening there? Talk to me. Yeah. Once we're active. Or the listing agents have blocked out time. What's going on there? Why didn't they do it during exclusive waiver? This is the point. Why didn't they show it? Why didn't they tell the seller? This is when I can show it. What's happening there? Why would a listing agent need to block out time for their prospects? That doesn't make sense to me.
So, but it doesn't, you have to put an excuse in there as to why you can't, show. I had to be on Lots Road for all showings. So I did block off time because I had an open house and I put in there agent unavailable to show.
Okay, so you had to be there for all showings.
I had to be there for all showings.
Wow.
Yeah, well, it's a unique property, so.
Mhm.
So what
I
if
get
you
it.
would have just said open house?
No, I was at another,
Oh,
I had other appointments, so I couldn't quite be two places at
At one
once.
time.
So that's the kind of situation, and I think you have to fill out
The reason?
the
Why
reason.
it's
Yeah. So what are some reasons we're seeing? Why it's blocked out? I mean, the seller could block it out. I'd see nap time, no.
We're always taking our seller's directives, but a recent sale would be the seller had health issues and she was gonna be able to leave the house between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. and was bill and show during those times. But prior to 10 a.m. and after 5 p.m., she,
So
But we
these kinds of
explained-
situations to me are rife for curb offers. The moment we close showing time availability. So you have 4 buyer prospects and you're trying to show them, some even you're gonna be showing the same stuff. And you're trying to juggle those appointments and get in and you get closed out. Because I get those calls from you that say, I was closed out, I had to write a curb offer. Anybody experience that? I didn't have time.
Uh-huh.
So now we're, so the market is creating this atmosphere. And quite frankly, 2 days. How do 100 people get in 2 days? Tell me this. How does that happen? My next thing that I'm going to try to discover is how many, and we probably, it'll take a little bit of time, but how many deals are going in contract with a curb offer versus when it would go active. I think it's a high percentage now. I think so, just judging from what's going on here, Aaliyah.
I had a call this morning for a listing I have active where literally it's active. It was prior to a highest and best being put out, but he literally said, I can't show it till tomorrow morning. My client is prepared to write a curb offer for tomorrow morning. We will still schedule our showing if you meet our offer by 10 a.m.
Well,
This
right,
is 2 hours
yeah,
after.
all right. So we basically have, a 48-hour window, of which it's not really 48 showing hours, is it? Have we moved all our lock boxes back to 8 a.m.? Have we done that? Have we told our sellers there's an option? I mean, if we've moved them out for the weekend, that's one thing.
Well, the lock boxes you can move, but showing time, you still have to block off before 8 a.m. with showing time.
Before 8 a.m., yeah. But it used to be 9, right? I think it just recently, yeah.
You can change them.
You can program it, yeah. But still, how many people can get in there? And especially if you're saying no overlapping, or you're saying 30 minutes only. So is that realistic? I'm trying to clean up some of your A2A stuff that doesn't make sense.
I think overlapping showings are much preferred to just let people do that because they overlap anyway. And I think if you prepare the seller for that up front and say, okay, we're gonna let them overlap, that's a good thing. Because it creates even
Less
more
time,
competition. More people can come in, sellers are fine with that. But they take their cue from what we say
But-
and the
but
advice we give
We
them.
still gotta lock up the box and.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, I get so nervous for our listings when we have more than a few showings in an hour because no one knows who the key is. No one knows who the agent is. And so we do, what, 3 every?
I mean, it's very custom. Every single property and seller is very custom. We don't have any.
Well, right,
cookie
and
cutter.
that's what it
Yeah.
has to be.
But yeah, usually we'll limit it to 3 showings per hour, depending on the property. Some sellers don't want to limit it at all. I mean, it just
But
depends.
nobody's kicking anybody out and they're staying
Right,
there and the
right.
next
That's
group
what
are
it's-
coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't got time to stand there and say, you get out.
True that.
What I've been seeing a little bit of too, and I had this over the past weekend, is agents will schedule a showing and they've got a half an hour time frame and they're showing from 4 to 4:30. And yet when I'm reading the lockbox, they showed up at 2 and they were there from 2 to 2:30.
What the heck is going on?
People have been doing that. If they'll schedule any time that's available and then go when they can. You know, that's why that's happening. Because I've been talking to some agents who.
This is
have been
make
doing
your
that.
own rules.
You know, which is why overlapping, I think, is best. You might as well just let people do it. And then you know when people are actually gonna be there.
Yeah. So moral of the story, we have to have some really intense conversations about what's going on, don't we? Yeah. Again, I know nobody promised you this at Hondros. I get it.
So I just had one this weekend, past weekend, where they said no overlapping showings. And I got there, and there were 3 people that showed up while my showing was going on. And the listing agent was present.
And the listing agent was
Was
what?
present. And I kind of shook my head, like, I thought this was no overlapping. And I started FaceTime. Out from client,
Mhm.
just infuriating.
They may have forgotten to put it in showing.
Yeah, so some of you are getting fined by what you are putting in the regular remarks section. Nothing about showings can go in the remarks section. That is all A2A,
What about an open house?
A2A.
You can't put open house in your.
Well, you probably can, but I don't think so. I think anything with showings is in A2A. That's an MLS rule, yeah.
I see it all the
Even
time.
the open
You
house.
do-
can't be-
There's a part of MLS that you can say that it's an open house.
Yeah. But yeah, you can't say, call listing agent for details, and showings this or any of that in regular remarks that goes to the public. Can't do it. Can't put special lender stuff in there.
Did you
All
just say
A2A.
to exclude saying open house?
I don't think anything with regard to showings.
Well, why would MLS have a rule about not putting open house? in
Well, it
regular
has
markets?
a
You can
section for-
advertise it in the newspaper.
But it has a section for open house in the MLS.
It does.
Right.
Still, why can't you put it in the remarks? Nobody reads all of the category stuff. Everybody reads the remarks. Why would that be a rule? I don't understand. It seems
Well, if you
contradictory.
let agents know there's an open house, if they're working with an agent, they're going to know that.
I mean, there is no real reason for some of the MLS rules other
Yeah.
than that they're arbitrary.
Yeah.
I just never heard
And-
that rule.
And I gotta tell you that some of those rules, the MLS committee is made up of agents. It is.
And
So,
some of
And
the
they can
things-
spend 3 hours discussing one feature in a house.
They probably, if you're working with a buyer, they probably don't want that buyer knowing about that open house without you giving them that information.
That's right. Yeah. Let's think about, who we want to see
Prospect,
what.
Sorry.
Who do we want to see what?
And
Okay,
keep in mind too, that MLS fines can be random, right? Some things do not get arbitrary fines because the person in MLS might not see them. Some things get fines because another agent has called in and said, there is something on this listing, where they reported the listing with that little checkbox you can do, and brought that to the attention of MLS, and then that
Right.
agent gets fined.
or,
And another agent who put in the same thing may not get fined because nobody complains about it. It's a very weird system.
so I don't see it because you missed your compliance deadline and didn't send it to me. Now I'm looking at it after you've been fined. When I could have maybe head that off. Okay. So what are the deadlines? The deadlines for a listing to be compliant is within 3 days of it coming soon or active. If it's going and coming soon, that's the deadline. You don't wait until it goes active. If it's only going to go active, that's the date, within 3 days. Okay,
What is it again?
within 3 days of it either coming soon or active. That's when it's due for submission, not when it's closed. Because if you got fined, it's on you. Okay. So we're just trying to clean up here, gear it on up so that we have a good spring and we don't want fines. It's cash. No fines. Other questions? So we know what we're doing? Yes? We're clear. We know what to say to a seller. We know what to explain about exclusive time within the brokerage, what can happen then. We know how to explain coming soon and what happens then. And we know how to explain active and all hell's gonna bar the door and they have to be available to show and explain that whole scenario, prepare them. We also know about curb offers. We also know when we have to change status, 24 hours. What else haven't I covered?
But question about someone mentioned earlier with escalation clauses, people saying no escalations.
Mhm.
This came up, I think, 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
of a seller using an offer that has an escalation to escalate another offer that has an escalation.
Right.
Is that
That is exactly how it's done.
you can do that?
Oh, yeah.
One escalates the other.
But I don't think all listing agents understand that.
I
You
know.
have to
No.
clarify what power you can
And
lose.
here's the problem, I have with that. If you don't understand what those things are, should you be representing a seller?
There's a lot that should be represented.
No, there shouldn't. When, it's very frustrating. I can hear, I get calls from our buyer's agents all the time and say the other side didn't know what they were doing and they left money on the table. Well, somebody made a choice, a bad one. But this is the United States, last I checked. But all we can do is do our best here. And if we don't know, we need to schedule time with me, and we will know at the end of that time. I promise you that, because you're not leaving until you understand it. And we will do the math, and you will practice. The form, the tutorial for escalation tells you how to do it. But some of you need to do it. I am great with that. What I'm not great with is not coming. We need to know. We need to know clearly what to do in a curb offer. We clearly need to know what to do with an escalation. We clearly need to use approved clauses. We're not writing in delayed possession in some 3-sentence paragraph that we made up. No, we're not doing that. And then, because I'm telling you, it's a problem waiting to happen. It's a lawsuit waiting to happen. I clearly know what's going to happen as a result of all of these contracts with no inspections. I can tell you exactly what's going to happen. They're starting to pile into grievance from the consumers.
Yes.
Yes. Just hearing it now. Obviously, not yet here, but I'm not at all sure that won't happen. Not sleeping because of it. Just letting you know. It will happen. It will happen. The first time the basement floods. And they all do. And I can tell you which parts of the city they do regularly. Yeah. So if you didn't program people, here's the deal, you're in the advice business. All of it. The question becomes, do you have the knowledge to give good advice? Therein is the rub. Sounds good to win an offer, but at what price? And I don't mean the cash necessarily. No inspection, first time buyer, really? I'm so uncomfortable with that. So it's already happening, huh?
Yep.
Words to the wise helps when we have people on those committees. I'm on professional standards. So if I get called on the panel, then I know it's no KW. So far, you didn't have to decide anything, so you would have had to recuse yourself.
I'm not on the committee.
You're
I
not.
just have a friend that's on the committee.
Oh,
That told me.
I thought maybe you were.
No, I'm not.
Sherry Carroll is. So if something comes before grievance, if it involves like a colo banker and this colo banker on the grievance, that person has to leave the room. And then grievance can discuss and move it to professional standards or dismiss it. Same happens on a professional hearings panel, which I'm on. So I would never hear anything that involved any KW agent in the city. They lump us all together. All HERs lumped together, all RE/MAX is lumped together, whatever. So I can't hear it. Plus, when it goes to professional standards, you get a list of the hearing panel members, and you, if you're the person complained about, can ask to have this person or that person not here. Like you've had some dealings with them. Perhaps they wouldn't think kindly of you. So you have due process. Just letting you know how it works. So it's happening. That's concerning to me. So that's why from time to time, I have the come to you know what meeting. Wish more people were here, but it is recorded. So we know what we're doing on the listing side. Yes? Now let's get some. We know how that works, right? Let's go get some, because we do know what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing that, Sean.
Yeah, I don't know how to stop it.
I'll have to get Sam.
Let's click on it and see what happens.
Click on what?
Now I have to.
That's what lost.
Down here?
No, the one that, yeah.
Down here?
Okay.
Oh,
we're in. Okay. I got to that, right?
Yeah, make that.
I need my.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
It was good. And then you can just.
Oh, yeah.
But in the end, it's not.